Chicago just became the worst city in America for traffic. The fix? $4 billion on one road. It won't be finished until 2027, and the people who drive it every day already know it won't work. Start with the traffic itself. Last year, the average Chicago driver lost 112 hours sitting in it. Picture that for a second. Not 112 minutes. 112 hours. That's almost 5 full days. 5 days a year where the engine is running, the meter on your life is ticking, and you are going absolutely nowhere. And that number went up 10% in a single year. The road is Interstate 294, the Tri-State Tollway. Locals just call it 294, usually with a word in front of it I can't say here. It opened in 1958, built for a city that doesn't exist anymore. Back then, Chicago had 3.5 million people, and the highway had 4 lanes. Today the metro pushes 9 million, and the highway still has 4 lanes. You can see the problem. 2 seasons in Illinois, the locals say, winter, and construction. And they're not really joking. People who commute 294 will tell you they have never once seen it not torn up. They're not exaggerating either. Drive it and you'll pass full concrete plants, permanent ones, built right alongside the highway because the work never actually stops long enough to pack them up. In some form, this road has been a construction site since before most of the people driving it were even born. And it isn't just 294 that's straining. 17% of the bridges in Chicago are officially rated structurally deficient, more than double the national average. The whole network is old and overwhelmed at the same time. The $4 billion road is just the one piece big enough to make the news. But here's the thing about Chicago that nobody outside the Midwest ever thinks about. There's a giant lake in the way. Lake Michigan sits right up against the city, which means every truck, every commuter, every person trying to cross the country from one side to the other has to swing south and go around it. All of them, through the same corridor. 294 is that corridor. 300,000 vehicles a day, funneling through a road designed when Eisenhower was president. And then there's the worst part of it. There's an interchange where 294 meets 2 other highways, 290 and 88. And for decades, it worked like this. 3 lanes of traffic forced down into one. One single lane. Picture it at 5 o'clock on a Friday. You're crawling along at maybe 4 miles an hour. To your right, 3 lanes of semi-trucks are all trying to fold into the exact same ramp you need. A loop so tight it bends almost all the way back on itself, like a noose, which is roughly how it got the name. The people who drive it call it the Hillside Strangler. They describe it like a figure-8 demolition derby, except nobody's allowed to actually move. A 30-minute trip becomes a 2-hour trip, right there, at one ramp. Drivers say it took years off their life, and they're only half joking. So that's what the $4 billion is supposed to fix. Wider lanes, 5, even 6 in each direction. A new fly-under ramp, so the Strangler finally lets trucks keep their speed. And a bridge over the Des Plaines River so long they literally named it the Mile-Long Bridge. It runs a full mile, carrying traffic over 2 railroads, a river, and a major UPS shipping hub, all at the same time. It is a genuinely massive piece of engineering. $4 billion across 22 miles. That works out to roughly $180 million for every single mile. Something else. And here's the part that surprises people. Not $1 of it comes from the state. Not $1 from the federal government. Every single cent comes from tolls. The people stuck in the traffic are the ones paying to fix the traffic, which almost sounds fair until you ask whether it'll actually work, because there's a problem engineers have understood for 50 years. It's called induced demand. You widen a road, more people start driving it, and within a few years it's just as jammed as before, except now it's a bigger road, jammed. Texas widened one freeway out to 26 lanes. 26! Commute times went up, and the drivers in Chicago know this in their bones. Ask anyone who lives along 294 what happens when the construction finally ends, and they all say the same thing. It'll fill right back up. There's even a phrase for the whole philosophy, just one more lane, said the way you'd talk about somebody's gambling habit. Now here's where it gets almost funny. The exact year Chicago decided to spend $4 billion widening a road was the same year it took the title of worst traffic in America. And it took that title from New York. You want to know how New York lost it? New York did the opposite. Instead of building more road, it started charging drivers to enter the busiest part of the city. Congestion pricing. Within a single month, 1 million fewer cars. Traffic dropped. New York still isn't paradise. Its drivers lost 102 hours last year too. But it's the first major American city to bend the line the other way. New York fell to number 2 by fixing the problem. Chicago looked at that and poured concrete. And the tolls, this is the part that makes longtime Illinois drivers laugh, the bitter kind of laugh. When the state built these roads back in the 50s, it made a promise, a slogan even. Toll-free in '73. The idea was simple. Charge tolls just long enough to pay off the construction, and in 1973, the roads turned free. Regular freeways, no booths, no I-Pass, nothing. Then 1973 came, and the state looked at all that toll money and quietly made the tollway permanent. Of course. When the Tri-State first opened, a toll cost a dime. 10 cents at the exit, a quarter at the plaza. Then it crept up to 80 cents, to $1.50. In 2027, it climbs again, and after that, it climbs on its own. Every 2 years, forever, a road promised free, priced from a dime to infinity. Since then, Illinois drivers have paid almost $27 billion in tolls. Roughly $20 billion of that was more than the roads ever cost to maintain and run. Not construction, not repairs, pure surplus. To put that in perspective, $20 billion in surplus alone, the money beyond what the roads actually needed, could have paid for 5 more projects the size of this entire rebuild, with change to spare. And if this tollway has a defining tradition, it was never engineering. It's scandal. A sitting governor was once arrested, partly for shaking down tollway contractors for campaign cash. Several of this state's recent governors went to prison. Meanwhile, the roads stay under construction. The contracts keep flowing. Make of that what you will. So you'd think, by now, they'd finally have enough. They don't. As 294 nears the finish line, that 2027 increase is set to be the largest in the tollway's history. $1 billion a year. For the typical driver, about $330 more every single year. A road sold to the public as temporary, promised free by 1973, now raising its tolls on autopilot somewhere around the year 2073. And here's the detail that tips it from sad straight into absurd. The tollway didn't even ask for the money. It had already passed a balanced budget. The hike came from state lawmakers, who admitted out loud that it was the price of getting labor unions to back a completely separate deal. The road didn't need it. The drivers will pay it anyway. Free by '73.